to see how GCSAYN will fully be involved in the next COP coming up in Brazil, which is very important because it's 30 years now we've been discussing about the climate change initiatives. And of course, I was very fortunate to start joining the COP process back in 2011 at COP17 in Durban, where I was working closely with the UN youth group, UNFCCC youth group, facilitating the youth booth, UN booth there in Durban. So I actually got very inspired by that, and I said, okay, how can we ensure that young people at the center are actually the pilots and the spearheaders of this agenda? It's for this reason we decided to say, okay, this year we're going to take the leadership while waiting for the UNFCCC to start the process. We're going to lead by example, not just by talking, walking the talk. So that's why we're coming up together now to see how we can actually unanimously agree and come out, work towards the COP30, so that towards around October we can develop what we call a common position for GCSAYN Road2COP 30. So with this, I actually got very, very motivated after my meeting with the UN Secretary General's office on the 20th of January here in New York, where the Assistant Secretary General in charge of who advises the Secretary General on climate issues, that is the climate action team, they were actually very excited to see what we've done so far, and they pledged to introduce all the GCSAYN country teams to the UNDP country offices, which of course they started with Cameroon already, to see how they're going to support. And they said they're going to fund some of our young people to go to Belem in Brazil for COP30. So really, I didn't end there with my team. We had equally some series of discussions with NASA in the United States, where they're looking at using the satellites for soil fertility and soil moisture. So I'm very, very happy that we're actually moving from one level to the other. And now we are all over the continents, all over the world right now. We are in over 7 continents, and of course, 170 countries around the world. And we are not working as individuals, we are working with institutions of learning, primary schools, high schools, secondary schools, tertiary education, and TVETs. And yesterday, I was just discussing with some of the colleges here in the United States and universities, where they are very, very much excited to be part of what we are doing, because we came to realize that when students finish from school, they start looking for jobs. But now at GCSAYN, we are bringing internship to proximity and exchange programs and mentorship program. It's for this reason we said, okay, why don't we call some of our mentors to share their perspective as far as the climate discourse is concerned. With this, I want to give the floor to our introduced Ambassador Stephane, who is actually one of our very, very big supporters for GCSAYN. I met Ambassador Stephane in 2021, yeah, when the 2015, 2015. Yeah, 2015, when Ambassador Stephane was actually the ambassador of large for the COP21 in Paris. So I was very, very fortunate to be part of that, and I met him. And I remember in Addis Ababa, he actually hosted a lot of people. And from there, I connected with Ambassador. Even when I wanted to go to Paris, Ambassador was write a letter straight to the consular officer. Divine is coming there, so you guys should issue the visa for Divine. So Ambassador, thank you very much for joining. I always be available for us. With this, I want to give you the floor, Ambassador, to give your statement. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Divine, and thank you for recalling these glorious times of COP21, when we first met indeed. These were times of great expectations. Indeed, I think altogether the COP21 was a big success, and I'm very modestly, I took my part. We all took our part, but we must recognize that since the Paris Agreement and since the great expectations that the Road2 events had been a bit disappointing. We see the evolution of the climate. Average temperatures have continued to rise constantly at a very alarming rate. And last year, 2024, was the hottest year ever registered by the World Meteorological Organization. And they indicated that the rise, if in comparison with the pre-industrial period, namely the end of the 19th century, was more or less 1.55 degrees Celsius. So clearly we are far from the goal. And the more we wait, obviously, the more difficult the road will be to run. But I'd like to add as well that political developments have also been disappointing. Now, clearly, there's a link between the two, and this is particularly true. Now, I'm giving you the point of view of my government. I'm not working for the government anymore, but I was a government official on the COP21 held in Baku, Azerbaijan, and we regret, and we're not the only ones, its lack of ambition. Particularly regarding mitigation objectives and the transition towards carbon neutrality. Now, we shouldn't be too pessimistic. There was some progress. An agreement was reached to commit $300 billion US dollars in the fight against climate change, and some progress was also achieved on the attempt at creating world carbon market. But some important stakeholders were not party to it. And as far as the funds are concerned, and we already noticed that in Paris back in 2015, there's always some ambiguity because we don't know where the allocated funds will come from. In some cases, those funds are just recycled from other envelopes. But I would say that above all, recent political developments, and especially in one particular country, you know which one I'm referring to, which is a key contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, and which used to be a great contributor to the fight against global warming. These recent developments cast a big shadow on the years to come and the future of the next generations. And obviously, I'm thinking about my children and my grandchildren. And I'd like to add that protectionist measures will also weaken the economies and thus harm the efforts aiming at reducing the emission of dangerous greenhouse gases. And particularly, they will have a detrimental effects on vulnerable countries. Now, again, we shouldn't be too pessimistic. One lesson to be drawn from the recent developments, I think, is that efforts by countries or by states will never be sufficient. I'd like to refer to a direct experience I have. I'm retired now. I'm not a diplomat anymore, but I'm an advisor to an impact investment fund called Investisseurs et Partenaires, which invests in African small and medium companies, and on the condition that the action of those companies has direct bearing on the environment or on social relations. And one of its vehicles called Acceleration Farm, INP, Investisseurs Partenaires Acceleration Farm, concentrates on agricultural small companies. So we are now in our specific areas in several African countries: Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya, Uganda, and Senegal. But, and this is the main point I wanted to stress, I would like above all to reiterate my deep appreciation, Divine, of what you and your team and your colleagues you have been doing throughout this time across several continents to help young farmers, but also engineers and technicians, students, and other stakeholders to develop what you call climate smart agriculture through the example, through training, exchange, and best practices and networking. And this is certainly the way we all together can best circumvent the failure of some states to the inability to take part in a fight which is a crucial and global interest to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Stephane, for always being very inspiring and supportive in all we are doing. We are so grateful to have you. Yeah, we know how busy you are, but you've actually dedicated time to always be there with us. Thank you very much. Over to you, Domenico.
Thank you very much, Divine, and thank you very much for setting up all of this, and thanks also to Ambassador Gompertz for the amazing and inspiring words. But now let's proceed on the agenda. Today is the first of our appointment, and we start really with put the basements for our path together. Climate smart agriculture is properly a concept that was like coined by FAO. And it's important also to recall ourselves which are the key pillars and the principle of this transformation of agri-food system. And who better than Federica Matteoli, that is from FAO and also former member of the facilitation union of the unit of the Global Alliance on Climate Smart Agriculture, to have this role of recalling us on the basic principles of climate smart agriculture. Saying that is an honor and a pleasure to have her here. Federica, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Domenico and Divine, for calling me and pushing me in this webinar. My role today is to make an explanation, let me say, what is climate smart agriculture, and to give you some idea how climate smart agriculture can support the transformation of agri-food systems in the context of climate change. Let me share. I have a presentation. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see. You can go presentation mode.
It's okay? Perfect. So, as Domenico said, my name is Federica Matteoli. I work for FAO, and I am an international climate smart agriculture consultant and project manager of projects related to climate smart agriculture. And I was a member of the facilitation unit of a Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture. Let me go through the concept of climate smart agriculture. What is climate smart agriculture? Climate smart agriculture is based on 3 pillars. The first one is increase productivity in a sustainable way. So the idea is to help farmers to increase productivity, but in a sustainable way. So taking consideration the 3 elements of sustainability, so social, economic, and environmental aspects. The second pillar is adaptation to climate change. So how farmers can adapt to the changes related to climate change, to the impacts of climate change. And the third one is how farmers can reduce or remove, where is possible, greenhouse gas emissions. Climate smart agriculture. Before this slide, I would like to explain why FAO decided to create with other institutions and organizations the approach of climate smart agriculture. Because the climate smart agriculture approach was created into 2010. After a long process of discussion between different entities at the local level and at the international level. One of the points was that at the international level, agriculture was completely lost, in the sense that there was not discussion during the COPs regarding agriculture, especially related to climate change. And another point was that at the field level, farmers already had impact on climate change. They knew what was the impact of climate change, but they didn't have any instrument, logical instrument to combat the impact of climate change. So the climate smart agriculture approach was based on helps to guide actions and strategies needed to transform agricultural system to support sustainable development and ensure food security. Food security is the key element in the creation of climate change in the creation of climate smart agriculture in the context of climate change. Relate to actions both at the farm level and behind the farm, and incorporates technologies, policy, institution investment. So the idea was to work not only at the farm level, but also behind the farm, and to incorporate technologies, policy, institution investment in the approach for agriculture to combat the impact of climate change. And of course, it's a context specific in the sense that some practices that we consider climate smart agriculture can be duplicated, but we need to contextualize the situation before to make the action to combat climate change at the agricultural level. This is the evolution. This is the evolution of climate smart agriculture. Was created in 2010. There was the first publication in 2013, and the launch of a Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture was made in 2014, and we discovered that in 2015, many countries included climate smart agriculture in their nationally contribution, the NDCs, to the Paris Agreement. And the second edition of the CSA Sourcebook was on 2017. So the idea is to have 3 wins, but not only, in the sense that climate smart agriculture is looking to have synergies between the 3 pillars, but also to identify the trade-offs that exist between the 3 pillars. So the idea is to enhance the synergies, but also to reduce the trade-offs. And the triple wins, for example, in a project, we can have productivity, increasing productivity in a sustainable way, adaptation activities, and reduction greenhouse gas emission. But not always this is possible, because, for example, in developing countries, maybe the reduction of greenhouse gas emission is not possible. Of course, the synergy and trade-off are included also in the 3 pillars related to the Sustainable Development Goals. So the idea is to create a synergy between the 3 pillars of the Sustainable Development Goals, and to reduce the trade-offs. Let me give you an idea how climate smart agriculture can support the transformation of food systems. For example, we need to start regarding productivity. We need to think that the incomes of food producers do not only depend on productivity, not only on increasing of productivity, but also on access to markets, good post-harvest handling, how we use opportunity to value addition. And so working only on increasing the production of crops, for example, is not is a limit. We need to look also how the farmer have access to markets, how we can use opportunity for value addition. And regarding to adaptation, we need a resilience. The food system depends not only on adapting agronomic practices, for example, agroforestry, but also on the process food, how we process food in the value chains, how we diversify how we make the diversification of the local and national food basket. So, and for regarding the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions from food system, we need to understand how we generate the products, but also we need to look behind the farm gate, how we process the production, how we transport the production, how we food and loss and waste, how we lose and waste food in our in the value chains of agriculture systems. After this identification, FAO and the other entities that support climate smart agriculture identify the process to implement climate smart agriculture. and is based on 5 key actions. Let me go behind the first one. The first action is to expanding the evidence base. So we need to assess the situation in the area where we want to work. So what are the climate change? We need to identify what are the climate change impacts, what is the vulnerability, what is the potential mitigation. We need to identify the baseline scenario, what are the synergies and trade-off between the 3 pillars of CSA, but also on the 3 pillars of economic, social, environmental, sustainable criteria. And what are the real costs of the implementation of climate smart agriculture approach? What are the barriers to adopt CSA approach, and how we can reduce this barrier? The second action is supporting enabling policy framework. So we need to, according to the national development priorities, we need to insert to align existing policies to support the 3 pillars of CSA. So, for example, which kind of legislation one country has on agriculture systems? How this legislation can be let me say, implemented or can be implemented with the support of CSA approach? What are the social protection for farmers that we can insert in the policies? And another point is how we need to strengthen national and local institutions. Many institutions doesn't have the possibility to, the capacities to implement climate smart agriculture projects, for example. So what are the level of this knowledge of policymakers? The staff has enough capabilities? What are the local and the national knowledge of extension services, for example, to implement climate smart agriculture activities? And we need to support them on strengthening cross-sector dialogue and coordination. So, for example, trainings for extension services is fundamental. Or maybe the extension services have already good knowledge on climate change, on agriculture systems, on agri-food system, or on climate smart agriculture. And we need to help them on create a cross-sector dialogue and coordination. And another point is research, how we can support research at the country level or give the possibility to researchers to work with extension services or climate information services or ministries or other entities or institutions that work at on climate change. The other point is the financing. Without money, in Italy we say, without money, we cannot do anything. So how we can support the countries to have access to international sources of climate finance? For example, Green Climate Fund or Global Environmental Facility are very good funds to support the countries, but we need to support countries to have access to these international sources. And FAO is working on that. We have in the Office of Climate Change the 2 teams who support the countries on this process. And also, if the countries have access to domestic funds, how we can integrate in the domestic funds the concept of CSA. And the first one, the 5 key action is developing climate smart agriculture projects at the field level with farmers. So what are the ancestral knowledge, indigenous knowledge that we can support to create climate smart agriculture projects. We needed to involve farmers with farmer field schools or any other participatory approaches to involve farmers in the creation from the beginning of climate smart agriculture projects. And provide the equal opportunity for participate to this project. Women, marginalized people, youth, we need to involve all of them in the process, because they are the vulnerable people who receive the major impacts from climate change, and they know what is the impact of climate change on their life, and we need to involve them from the beginning to understand what are the solutions. In some cases, they have already the solutions. I remember in Ecuador, in the last project that I coordinated, the indigenous people had already the idea how to adapt to climate change and how to reduce the greenhouse gas emission with the chakra system, that is an indigenous people knowledge, and but they needed support to have technologies and to receive support by the governments on their knowledge. FAO is working on a new concept of CSA, because we would like to increase more on the social aspect. Is not an official, let me say, revision. We are still working inside FAO to debate on this new process, on this new idea of a CSA that we call CSA Plus, and is more integrated on the sustainable criteria, economic, environmental, and social. So the idea is to increase productivity and incomes, taking consideration to build resilience to climate change and to reduce greenhouse gas emission, but to add other three pillars: increase ecosystem health and biodiversity. So we insert also the idea to have an ecosystem and more health and and to protect biodiversity. And the other point is to make more attention to improved social coherence and equity, so gender, youth, and vulnerable people, and improve enabling environment. Enabling environment is, let me say, the link between the other three pillars, because is the idea to create a more enabling environment, a more connection between all the stakeholders. And of course, the CSA Plus, but the CSA was already, inside the CSA, there was already this concept, but we want to increase the idea and the link between the synergy contribution to the three conventions, so the climate change, biological diversity, and combating desertification, and not to concentrate only on climate change, but this is a trend at the international level to link the three Rio conventions. And how we can achieve this? We can evaluate the potential scale and nature of impact. This is more to increase also, to make an assessment of CSA practices on biodiversity, gender, and social aspects. Another point is to conduct extensive consultation with stakeholders, with groups, making co-design, co-implementation of CSA options, and increase participatory approaches to create this environmental, enabling environmental, and ensure, of course, the involvement of gender and social responsive portfolio of climate smart agriculture practices. The opinion of women, youth, indigenous, marginalized groups need to be incorporated in the portfolio, in the composition of portfolio and for climate smart agriculture practices. Let me give you just one example of practice and technology for sustainable climate smart agri-food system. Agroforestry. Agroforestry is agroforestry is a practice that we consider very strong to help to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, because we can capture storage through trees the CO2, and we can have a landscape diversification to increase biodiversity. We can foster above and below ground biodiversity conservation and restoration. Through litter, we can have a protection against soil erosion, and we can increase soil nutrition, and protect protect crops from the view of wild animals. So for us, the trees are fundamental in CSA practice. But the other point is that agroforestry can help on add source of income. For example, we can have fruits. We can leave pods, seed to produce livestock feed. We can have oil seeds for energy and animal feeding. We can have fertilizer from the trees, or we can have timber wood for long-lasting wood products. So, and we can create in the concept of CSA, the circular economy and cascading use of wood, for example, for wood energy products and bioenergy. So let me give you the very last example, how we work on climate smart agriculture. In Botswana, we try to, you know that Botswana is a big product of livestock, no? Livestock is very important production in Botswana, but at the same time we need to increase the crop production to make a better diet for local, but also a better marketing for inside Botswana, but also for outside markets. So in this project, we help farmers to diversify their income, making more mature varieties and strong varieties of crops. For example, we have we discovered, for example, that although planting later, the crop emerged repaint before the local variety, allowing for a potential second crop. So we increased the productivity. Matured early and produced large panicle with bold grains. Sorghum, for example, sorghum grains were big and beautiful, and also adopting the early maturing varieties could imply changing the planting period. In Botswana, the start planting the variety in early October, so that by the time that the bears are ready to eat the sorghum, and so we changed a little bit the planting period to avoid this situation. So picking the lesson learned was that picking the right hybrids and management strategies for the location and expected seasonal conditions can significantly increase yields. So going back to the three actions, we made in this situation an assessment of the Botswana and the geographic area where we want to work. And we identify what was the impact of climate change, what was the impact of having different, the only one product. And we helped farmers to avoid these situations and to reduce and to increase the income and reduce the impact of climate change. So what CSA is not, in conclusion, CSA is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Choosing the best practices requires a deep knowledge of the local context. This is why we strongly believe that having an assessment before to identify the solutions is absolutely important. Diversifying farming and cropping system can contribute to build more sustainable and resilient agri-food systems, and so to achieve the SDGs target 2.4. And the transition toward a more sustainable and resilient agri-food system is urgent and requires effort by all stakeholders along the agri-food value chains. And we need to speed the availability of technologies, build capacity, and scale up financing opportunities. This is the conclusions that we had after many years. Of course, there are many others, but I don't have more time. Maybe you would like to ask me more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Federica. Really, it's important that every one of us recalls about these basic content. Thank you also for giving us the new perspective. But yes, as you also said, let's later into the question time have more space for respond to more questions and so on. Saying that, I give the floor back to Divine for introduce the next speaker.
Thank you very much indeed. So for the questions, just a comment. For the questions, we're going to give you the time to ask your questions. That's why we are going very fast with the presentations. So don't worry. So let me now introduce my very good friend, Patrick. Patrick is actually the managing director at McGill for the Institute of Global Food Security. And that is our latest center of excellence and leading across North America. So Patrick, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Divine, and good morning, good afternoon, everybody. And it's a pleasure to be with you here today. And as Divine said, I currently serve as the Managing Director of the Institute for Global Food Security at McGill. And I spent the last 15 years working in, or actually providing scientific, innovative, and applied solutions to alleviate food insecurity in different parts of the entire world, including North America, Latin America, Africa, Middle East, and Asia. I'm an agricultural engineer by training, and I work a lot on how to use our natural resources in a more efficient way. When I say natural resources, meaning like water, soil, and energy, without further compromising our environment. And this is a way of being sustainable. I also research a lot on sustainable farming system to promote agricultural practices that focus more on producing food without compromising the environmental health, social equity, economic viability, and climate resiliency over the long run. So let me start by sharing my screen, so I can start my presentation. And Divine, I would love to say that, recently we just, we have this new partnership between McGill and Divine. You want to say something about it, Divine?
Yeah, sure. Of course. Of course. As I said early on before I introduced my friend, actually, McGill, as you all know, when we talk of research, we talk of education in Canada, is one of the leading institutions when it comes to research, exchange, student capacity building, and strengthening mentorship. So we're really, initially back in 2021 or 22, we started a process with the MCA, which is actually the McGill Center for Convergence, Health, and Economics. But now they start internally and realize that we are much more relevant to work with the Global Food Security Institute, where my brother is actually the managing director. So this MAU simply, or partnership, is much more, it's not like others where we're going to keep on shelf, but it has already started going operational, fully enforced, to make sure that the students exchange program is strengthening the capacity building, mentorship, and research, of course. And that's why I need to announce that GCSAYN is setting up what we call the GCSAYN Science and Research Committee, which is going to be done, which is going to be, a constituency of researchers across all the centers of excellence, which are actual universities, high schools, and primary schools as well. So really, we are really happy to have you on board. And of course, let me say this, Patrick. Yesterday, when I visited Owens Community College, they said they are the first institution in America to diversify TVETs with Canada. That they actually came to Canada and learned about it, and they started it here in the United States before the other institutions are taking over. So I want to really say thank you for this strong partnership, and we're really ready to make sure that we implement the action points at the MOU. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Divine, and it's a pleasure, as I said, to partner with you, and looking forward for this long-term sustainable partnership between our institutions. And my presentation, or my highlight points today, will be about what's the major role of the food systems in scaling up the agriculture productivity among stakeholders, like smallholder farmers, within a climate change era. And so before we're gonna start the deep dive into this subject, let me just define a little bit what the agri-food system is. The agri-food system, it's a kind of a complex web between different interconnected components, actors, and processes. So it encompasses everything like environment, people, input, processes, infrastructures, that relates to food production all the way to the consumptions and passing through the processing and the distribution. And it has different, or it can be actually influenced by so many environmental, economic, political, and social factors. From here it comes its kind of complexity. So why agri-food system is complex? First, because it has some multiple stages of the food chain. As we know, food chain or supply chain starts from the production all the way to the consumption. And as I said, starting with that includes, like logistics, storage, handling, processing, and retailing. And so the second item for the agri-food system complexity is we are dealing or working or collaborating with multiple and diverse stakeholders.
Once we receive the samples, we'll send you a final test.
Domenico.
No worries. Thank you. So the diversity of our stakeholders range from the different farmers, agribusinesses, people, government, NGOs, private sectors, academia, and so on. So from here, it comes also the complexity of the agri-food system. Another complexity, is mentioned through the environmental and climate change factors. And those factors, are natural disasters and climate change extreme events like drought and flooding. So soil degradation, water scarcity, and biodiversity loss. Economic drivers also, can be a big or can play a very complex agri-food system. And this is what we're talking about here, is about the global markets. Look at the, like the war trading today happening. What about those trade policies and how they're going to affect the agri-food system in the entire world? What about the volatility of the commodity prices, subsidies, and investments in agriculture? And finally, for that complexity, it comes also from its cultural and social factors. And those factors such as, like dietary diversity, gender equality, local traditions. So you cannot just copy and paste, for example, interventions from one study site or one country or one success story to another, and you say, well, you should guarantee the same outcome, because it has its own cultural and social factors. And another social factor could be land ownership, which I will discuss in a later slide. What are smallholder farmers? We talk a lot on smallholder farmers. Smallholder farmers are, by definition, are like farmers. They have less than 1 hectares or to 10 hectares of land. And smallholder farmers are characterized by usually a family-focused motives and objectives, such as favoring the stability of the farm household system, using mainly family labor for production and using part of the produce for family consumption. Today, to let you know that 80% of food for the developing world is produced by smallholder farmers. From here, you can tell how, or the magnitude of that problem, or how important the smallholder farmers, to empower them and to incubate them and to support them, because they are providing more than 80% of the developing world food products. Look at the global situation today. Out of 570 million world farmers, 475 million are smallholder farmers, which is huge. 2 billion people are supported by smallholder farmers. 12% agricultural land is operated by smallholder farmers, which is very, very minimum compared to the number of smallholder farmers. 70% of food calories produced by smallholder farmers in Asia and sub-Saharan Africa. Large farm produce cereals, livestock, and fruits, which is around 75 to 100%. And smallholder farmers produce variety of horticultural root tubers, fish, livestock, and 75%, with some exceptions in some countries. What about the key roles of smallholder farmers today? Why smallholder farmers are important in the supply chain, and they are important to ensure a sustainable food system in a very uncertain world today. First, because they are the backbone to establish a sustainable food system. I've been traveling to Africa or developing countries for the last 15, 20 years. And I've been asking the same question: how do you guys want us to help you? So they always tell me, well, Patrick, don't tell us how to grow our own food. We know how to do it. We've been doing it for many, many years. Even our ancestors used how to do it. So if you want to help us, maybe you can give us more access to the nearest markets, help us build us infrastructures like roads and markets, and help us stop corruption. So in order to establish a sustainable food system and stop abusing our natural resources that are required to produce food in a more sustainable way. Also, they are key to advance food and nutrition security. And this is where I focus in my programs at McGill and research on nutrition sensitive agriculture. So how to produce agriculture that has some nutrition outcome, because recent statistics from all the United Nations agencies, relevant or interested in this kind of work, and they are 5, including the 3 UN Rome-based agencies, UN, FAO, WFP, and IFAD, they are all saying that the major problem today is so many millions, and if not billions, of people, they cannot afford eating healthy diets, because healthy diet is way more expensive than unhealthy diets. And smallholder farmers are also responsible for agriculture growth and employment generations. They are also important to increase land productivity. success of green revolution in Asia, for example. They were also important, and they are important in producing diversified yields to increase the income. You know that even as a human being, we need to have a diverse food. It's by definition of food secure or food security. So you should eat, or the body, every human being body needs all those micro and macro elements to survive or to live normally. So diversified diet or diverse diet is more crucial, is really important in our daily food habits. And they also support organic agriculture, definitely. And this is what we call the sustainable farming system. And they definitely support the traditional practices. I've been also working for many years with indigenous people. And this is where they always advocating for decolonization of the food system. Every country, every community has its own right. It's by the chart of the human right. It's a human right that every community has the right to choose their own food and their own traditional food, actually, and their own, traditional practices even. So from here, it comes the decolonization of the food system. And definitely they are important, or they play a key role in maintaining diversity and cultural richness. Look now about what are the challenges. After we saw the definition of smallholder farmers, their important and crucial role, what about the challenges of smallholder farmers? What are they really facing today? They are facing inadequate access, to resources. And for me, this is in terms of transportation facilities are very poor in so many countries. No paved roads, access to markets are very, very limited, if not even very, very poor. And they definitely lack of productive resources and knowledge, because resources can also be knowledge and training, not always financial resources. Secondly, a second challenge could be lack of post-harvest system facilities. I've spent quite of my career, professional life, working in post-harvest management and food wastage, reduction in developing countries. And what I really found is that if you have like poor storage and packaging facilities and poor handling practices, this is, that definitely leads to increased post-harvest food wastage. And when I say wastage, is a link, or it's like a mix between loss and waste. And this is due to so many lack of training on modern practices, such as how to store food, how to pack food, how to handle food, especially for perishables. What about the social constraints that could also be a major challenges for smallholder farmers? And we're talking here about the women's role in the decision-making at the household level is very underestimated. What about gender discrimination and gender inequality? Women are not empowered to make their own decisions, even at the household level. Inadequate access to production. We're talking about, farm size that they are decreasing due to high population growth and land fragmentation worldwide. Lack of, production knowledge leads to lower quality yields. Limited access to innovation, technology, and knowledge. Those are exacerbate the role of the smallholder farmers to gain position in our supply chain and decision making, and actually having their own, empowering them like globally. So what about this? Also, another challenge that could be limited role in decision making. And, farmers are not primary partners in decision making. Local farmers, usually smallholder farmers in many countries, are often neglected, if not by their own authorities, actually. And farmers are usually marginalized in policy discourses. So this is adding to another challenge that could be about property and land right issues. Insecure land tenureship. Smallholder farmers are losing their lands to government and investors due to urbanizations. And another challenge could be environmental constraints like climate change. This is the topic of today. Insufficient rainfall, storms, temperature variability, deforestation, water scarcity, drought, rising sea level, and etc., etc. And I want to conclude the challenges by talking about the labor migration. One of the most daunting or main problem today, actually, I've been witnessing for many years now, is the youth migration, mainly in developing countries or in Africa, where the young generations, they lost hope in agriculture. They don't want to work in agriculture anymore because of so many uncertainty in terms of environmental factors, climate change, and they are, and the growth of non-farm economy. For them, agriculture is a recipe of failure. It's a failure investment and business. So our job here is to give them incentives and to bring them back in agriculture and to change their mindset. And I'd like to mention one word about building farmers. Building farmers meaning equipping them with special skill sets to face today's and tomorrow's challenges in global food security and a global crisis, actually. So smallholder farmers, who make up a significant portion of global agriculture producers, often face unique challenges, including limited access to resources, as we said, technologies, financing, markets. They are also vulnerable to climate change impacts, such as erratic rainfall, rising temperature, extreme weathers. In this context, food systems play an essential role in scaling up agriculture productivity for smallholder farmers. And here I'm going to show you or share with you actually what are the major key ways of the food systems that they are supporting smallholder farmers. First, they can promote or through promoting climate CSA, as my colleague Federica mentioned. Promoting CSA or climate smart agriculture practices can be, like through reduction. Those are the practices that will benefit or reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, enhance resilience to climate impact. Resilience, in my opinion, is way more better than security. Resilience is that how the people, they're going to cope and they're going to be adapted or equipped to adapt to face today's and tomorrow's challenges in global crisis, unexpected crisis. How they should be resilient, and definitely CSA helps them increase their own productivity. And definitely through knowledge and training in CSA practices, meaning providing training and knowledge on adapting to climate change. And this includes best practices on water conservation, soil fertility, and managing diseases and pests in a more sustainable way without using, as I said before, without abusing our natural resources, soil, water, and energy. Access, the second key way or a method is access to financial support through some microfinancing and insurance. Smallholder farmers often lack access to capital, and the food system can address this by offering micro loans or micro savings and the crop insurance, for example, and credit facilities. Risk mitigation is also another way of accessing financial support. Financial instruments like weather indexed insurance allow farmers to protect themselves against climate-related risks, and such as drought and flooding, and definitely reduce their vulnerability and enhancing their productivity. Building market access and value chain, market linkages. This is what I've been witnessing myself, even as I said before. So how to link the production to the consumers or to the consumption, and through this market link, how we can stop or reduce the impact of imposed quality standards from imported crops from outside those countries. And this is definitely through some great market linkages between the production and the consumption.
You don't like that one? I don't need any help. You don't know how to do it. I don't need any help.
Thank you. And so food system help create better market access for smallholder farmers, connecting them, as I said, to buyers. One of that project that I was working personally on in the Caribbean we did succeed to build this market linkages between the consumers, the producers and the consumers, is that what we call the school feeding programs, where at least the local producers will link them with the schools, and then with the consumers, and then they can guarantee that their crops, their produces, they can be sold, and they have some market access for that. So what about the value addition? So through sometimes mini processing, they don't need to invest lots of dollar values. So some mini processing, sometimes like sun-dried tomatoes and like the powdered cassava, for example, in order to extend shelf life and give an added value to those produces, that they have very short shelf lives and there is no market for them. So what mini processing, packaging, even branding, they definitely help adding value for those smallholder farmers, and definitely they will gain even more bargaining and the bargaining powers, actually, when they go and access nearest markets or even global markets. Another key way is improving infrastructures. Through some post-harvest management, food system invest in improving post-harvest infrastructures, including storage facilities and transportation networking, in order to reduce post-harvest food wastage and improve food safety and help farmers sell their produce at the right time to maximize profits. Rural infrastructure is part of that, also improving the infrastructure, meaning that we need building better rural infrastructure in terms of roads, irrigation system, electricity, solar panels, makes farming more efficient for them. And it will reduce their production cost, and it will increase their profitability. Now, another key way is fostering collaboration and partnerships, like public-private partnerships. And this is definitely can help scale up their own innovation, increase funding, and enhance technical support. And also another way to foster collaboration is through these cooperatives, creating more cooperatives and farmer groups instead of working in silos and individuals and in remote areas. So why don't, and these groups or farmer groups allow smallholder farmers to share their own resources, to share their own lessons learned, success stories, and to access training, negotiate better prices, and gain collective bargaining power. Another key way is encouraging sustainable farming, like agroecology, biodiversity, and such as crop diversification, organic farming, and which my colleague just mentioned that. I'm not going to repeat them again. Sustainability certification will definitely help, such as fair trade, organic, rainforest alliance. That will definitely help those smallholder farmers to gain access to the global or to better markets. Policy, and finally, another key way for food system that they are supporting smallholder farmers is through some policy support, like climate adaptation policies. And this can include subsidies for sustainable farming technologies, like climate resilient crop varieties and infrastructure development. And definitely the international support. This is where I see the most important. And this is definitely going back to the SDG number 17. Global initiatives such as all the UN SDGs, the 17 of them, which unfortunately we're not on track to reach them by 2030, but we have to rethink outside the box what's going to happen after that. And definitely the Paris Agreement on climate change, and they create frameworks for supporting smallholder farmers in adapting to climate change. In summary, I'm going to conclude by saying that food systems are critical in scaling up agriculture productivity for smallholder farmers, particularly in the face of the climate change, by providing access to knowledge, financial resources, markets, and infrastructures. So, however, the complexity of the agri-food system requires a great coordination between different stakeholders here. I'm talking about the governments, private sector, civil society, and smallholder farmers themselves. And I want to just conclude by saying that all of these stakeholders, they should sit on a roundtable discussion, and I mean on it, as it should be round table, not rectangular table, because all stakeholders, they should have the same distance between themselves. So in order to ensure and create sustainable, climate resilient and inclusive agriculture system for us and for many generations to come. Thank you so much, Divine, and thank you all.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for your insightful presentation. And one of the key message I got is that we should have better round table, not triangular table or rectangular table, which means a lot. And I think inclusivity, partnership is really, really strengthened in this direction from what you're telling us is one of the things we're going to really foster. And that's why we have the centers of excellence. The next thing is that we have actually captured that that research and financing for agriculture is key. And of course, that's why GCSAYN is some sort of like working like the centers of excellence are serving as extension services to collaborate, to get the information from the farmers. We are not training the farmers. We are not teaching them what to do. We are simply adding value to the existing technologies, especially engineers' knowledge that they have. We bring in much more of technological aspects. That's where we are coming in. And I think that working with you all as researchers and experts in your domain, that's we are really, really grateful. So I give back the floor to Domenico to run up with Linda, and then we're going to open for questions.
Thank you very much, Divine. So let's go properly talking about our network and our network work. And I'll give the floor and welcome Linda Sarpong Acheampong from Ghana. So please, Linda, if you want to take the stage, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Domenico. So as Domenico rightly mentioned, my name is Linda Sarpong Acheampong from Ghana, and then I'll be presenting on. Sorry, I'm trying to get my screen ready so I can present. So I'll be giving a brief on how academia or academic institutions, the role they play in achieving the Paris Accord. So I'm Linda Acheampong once again from Ghana. I have volunteered with Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network for the past 2 years, or 2 to 3 years, if I can remember. And then it's been a wonderful journey. I've learned a lot. I've helped people along the way, mentored a lot of the youth in climate smart agriculture. And I'm grateful for the opportunity, Mr. Ntiokam. So I am in Ghana, based in Ghana, and then I am a PhD candidate at the Center of Climate Change and Sustainability Studies in the University of Ghana. And then let me proceed with my presentation. So as I said earlier, I am presenting on the role of academic institutions in achieving the Paris Agreements. So I'll be focusing on enhancing climate action through education, research, and innovation. Okay, so in my introduction, I want to give a brief background of the Paris Agreement or the Paris Accord. So it's a legally binding international treaty that was adopted or ratified in 2015. It took off in 2016, actually. And the aim was to limit the global temperature rise to 2 degrees Celsius. And if we want to be more ambitious, to 1.5 degrees Celsius above in pre-industrial levels. And then for these ambitious targets that we've set for ourselves globally, we needed the cooperation of government, businesses, and academic institutions in order to achieve that. The role of academic institutions is actually paramount in achieving these goals, and I'll be delving more into it as I go on. So academic institutions and climate action. So I want to categorize the various academic institutions to the roles that they will play as I go on the journey to elaborate. So we have the primary and secondary education. Those are the early stages of education, where we say they are very young and malleable. It's better to teach the younger than the oldest. So normally the focus on the earlier ages is very paramount. So primary and secondary education is key. And in the universities or the colleges, where we have the advanced research, or we interpret policy development and then technical innovations. And then the technical and vocational education, or the TVETs. That's a very crucial and very important component in the educational sector, because that's focused on skill development and then For example, in renewable energy development, technology development, sustainable agriculture, and then the green technologies are all hands-on in that sector. So I want to elaborate on some of the roles that academic institutions play in achieving the Paris Accord or the Paris agreements. So in the primary educational sector or in the secondary sector, there's the incorporation of climate change topics in the various programs, such as the sciences and the social studies curriculum. So when they are taught in the early ages, it's easier for them to grasp the whole idea of combating climate change or mitigating or adapting to climate change impacts. And then there's also the climate clubs or tree planting activities, which is very common amongst Climate and Agriculture Youth Network. That's where I volunteer. So we've been partnering with a lot of these schools, the basic schools especially, in planting more trees in communities in order to avert or mitigate climate change impact. And then the environmental campaigns that will go on to going, as we were talking about, COP. And a very big platform for such environmental campaigns, but educational institutions play a very huge role in this. And then we go to the universities and colleges. That's where we offer degree programs in environmental sciences, programs that touch on climate policies and then renewable energy practices, and a whole lot of technologies that are helping in combating or mitigating or adapting to climate change. And then the interdisciplinary research in climate adaptation, mitigating strategies are also very, very paramount in the university and colleges. There are also online courses and public awareness initiatives that are generated in the educational sector, especially in the colleges and the universities. And this is also plays a key role in advancing climate education and awareness in the globe. So I want to touch on another role that the educational institutions are playing in advancing climate action. That's research and innovation. For what we've heard earlier from Federico and all those who spoke earlier, those in academia have hammered on the importance of climate research and technological breakthroughs. So universities especially are the hubs of these breakthroughs. For example, I'll give a few of them. The renewable energy technologies, most of them started from the universities. The ideas and how to even degenerate them into or scale them up, like solar, wind, hydro, bioenergy, and a whole lot were canvassed in the university environment. Carbon capture and storage is another technology that has been well researched on in the university environment. Sustainable agricultural, as we're talking about climate and agriculture, food security. It's a very important sector that has also been vastly researched on in the educational space. There's climate modeling, where we project the climate or the impacts in the future. So those serves as guidelines or give us forecasts on what to do in the near future so that we are not advancing or making the whole climate discussion a very dangerous one for the whole world. There's also collaboration with industries and governments. So university institutions collaborate with industries after their researches have been done. They collaborate with governments also so that they can relay their policies or their findings to inform policies for organizations and the governments. Another role the universities and the other tertiary institutions, both secondary, primary, and all the educational institutions that I've mentioned play is capacity building and skills development. So the TVET, the vocational and technical institutes especially, they provide hands-on training. So for the solar installations and solar panels, wind turbines, maintenance of them, and then the energy efficiency technologies, they provide a hands-on training, and it's very vital in the fight against climate change. Certification programs that they are offering over there is also another important component of the whole process. So they are bringing up programs on green buildings, waste management practices, and they are certifying people in this and building knowledge in this, and it is helping in the fight against climate change. They are building partnership with sustainability firms, renewable firms on hands-on training. So in these institutions, when you come for the theoretical studies, you also engage with other partners in the industry who are really doing hands-on training and this helps you to advance your knowledge in the fields that you actually studied. The universities and research institutions also offer specialized courses like climate financing, which is a very an emerging area or a very important component of the climate space that is really emerging. So we provide some of these programs for people to advance their knowledge in the field, environmental policies, climate adaptation, mitigations, are all research areas that the universities undertake. Skills building and then workshop for policymakers and industry leaders. Some industry leaders, especially, or policymakers, have heard of climate change and have heard of sustainability, mitigation, adaptation, but they don't really understand the whole component and how they are supposed to go about it. And they are the ones informing or making the decisions or policies for companies, for organizations, for countries. So universities in their capacity help build their skills through workshops to elaborate further with empirical evidence to them why they need to fight or combat climate change. There are also internship programs and research projects undergoing in the universities and colleges as well. These also broadens people's knowledge and then help in solving hands-on problems on climate change and adaptation. There's also the role of policy advocacy and community engagement. So universities, as we all know, they are the leaders and they always take the lead in policy development. So with the research findings, as I said, they give us empirical evidence to inform policies. So case studies that I'll be wanting to give as a Yale University in the US. They have a Center for Climate Change Communication, which is really informing policies with their findings. And then governments actually pick from these policies to inform them in what to do in the nearest future. And then there's the University of Cape Town, which is right here in South Africa. And they're also doing amazingly well. There are a lot of universities actually doing this, but I just wanted to mention these few to give us an idea of what universities are undergoing in the fight against climate change. There's also the engagement with local communities to promote climate change resilience and then adaptation strategies. So these engagements of the universities, after their researches and their empirical evidence are found, they are not kept in the shelves. Most of them try to engage with communities, with people, the local people, so that they can build their resilience and adaptive capacity as the climate change impacts looms. And then also they're hosting international conferences. So when these grounds are open for people to come in for international conferences on climate, workshops and public forums, is also a way of enhancing and then broadening and advocating for climate change action or climate action in the near future or now. There's also the sustainability campus operations. So most of the campuses are really going green. The initiatives has gone worldwide and the real world models are really glaring and we can all see it. In University of Ghana landscape is an example where I reside and where I school. I will show you pictures of them in subsequent presentations, or as I move on with the presentation. You see how green the university campuses are. And it is a sight to behold, especially in the tropics. To find such an environment is something that is very encouraging. Examples of university-led sustainability projects, I will mention a few. Stanford University has gone 100% solar energy transition, and it's admirable and it's commendable as well. Technical University of Munich in Germany also has a hydrogen energy research and green infrastructure that is really admirable, and it's really helping in the fight against climate change. And it sets as an example for other institutions to emulate. There's Transport University in Kenya, which is right here in Africa, and it's also running on solar power, a very commendable initiative of the university. So the universities are also going on in implementing zero waste policies in their various institutions. So most of the campuses are have recycling programs and sustainability transportation systems so that at least the impact of climate change will be reduced and there will not be more danger looming ahead of us. I will share with you a few success stories. As I've said, there are a lot of them, but I captured a few so that we can just elaborate and then deliberate on them as we move on in our discussions. So the first I will mention this in Germany, which is Technical University of Munich. So if you see the picture, it shows you how glaring and how beautiful the landscaping is. They're trying to make sure that whatever tree that was cut, even in building or instituting this beautiful edifice, is fixed. So even on top of the roof, you still have greens. And then there are solar panels there that is exhibiting how they are generating electricity or power in order not to dwell on fossil fuels, that is further exacerbating the impact of climate change. So they are a pioneering research institution in sustainable energy and climate friendly, and they are showing a climate friendly building designs, which we can all see clearly. I also go to University of Ghana, as I mentioned. This is the landscape in Ghana, a tropical area in Africa, and yet we have all these greens because the university have made are taking constant steps to maintain this at all times and at all seasons of the year. So it's a climate-focused university because we have a center here called Center of Climate Change and Sustainability Studies. This center is actually producing a lot of students in the area of climate change studies, broadening people's idea in the field and helping maintain that cordiality between human and environment. They're also undertaking recycling projects, which is helping in managing waste on the campus. When you come to the campus, it's so clean. Ghana uses a lot of plastics, but University of Ghana, you hardly see drops of plastics or waste all over the campus. So this is another example. Let me go to the United States, which is Stanford University, as I mentioned earlier. We see how they are segregating waste. So the ladies up there have bins which have been labeled. So we don't litter around anywhere, but you know where to put an organic waste, where to put plastic waste, where to put other waste that will not be mixed with organic waste, so that the organic waste can go through composting. We can recycle the plastics for reuse, and a whole lot of things can be done with it. They have a water management system, which is also clearly down there. You can see how they are managing their water so that they don't waste water, and then there are ways that they can recoup all the water or the waste that they generate. There's also the solar panels, the solar farm that they have in there, which is very beautiful. They are actually harvesting a lot of solar energy so that they can power their activities without dwelling on fossil fuels. There's another example in Kenya, which is Strathmore University. It's a pioneering African university that's installed a large scale solar energy system. And we can see clearly the panels on their roof and how they are training students in solar management and solar technologies. This is a lady. They are really championing their affirmative action and bringing everybody on board, women, children, people with disability, and then anybody that wants to learn, they're giving the opportunity. This is a clear example of how universities and educational institutions are pioneering climate action. Let's go to China and see Tsinghua University. They are actually also doing very well in climate policy research. Then they are influencing national carbon neutrality targets. So in September last year, they inaugurated the Institute of Carbon Neutrality to promote national carbon neutrality. So they're actually influencing the nation and combating and achieving carbon neutrality. And this is more like a pressure group or an example to the government. So they see this in their researches and how they are supposed to go about their duties in order to reach this climate neutral or carbon neutral goal. And they are having evidence or empirical evidence to buttress whatever they do. In France, we have the Université Paris, exactly. So they also championing climate agriculture, climate smart agriculture or sustainable agriculture, and then climate economics. We can clearly see what they are doing. It's beautiful how we can manage and change the structure of our soils or of our landscape in order to get agricultural products, even when they are out of season. And this is exactly what the school is doing and championing, training people in the field, mechanized agriculture, precision agriculture, conservation agriculture in order to gain food security in the area. But there are some challenges, and I'll be prescribing or recommending some way forward as we go on. So the challenges mainly, as already mentioned, funding for climate research and educational programs. So the processes of acquiring climate funds are quite cumbersome. So it's mostly a put-off to most of these educational institutions. And so only few are able to access some of these programs. So I think it's the major challenge that we should look at. And then there are policy gaps and slow adoption processes. So when researchers come up with these research findings, it's difficult, or sometimes it's quite slow in adoption, because there's a gap between research and the real world implementation. So most of these research findings are left in the shelves, and they hardly disseminate to the communities or the policies that really are needed for. So that's another challenge. And the way forward I'm suggesting is that we strengthen our partnership, the academia, industry, and government, so that there will be that synergy. And then the academia, after our research findings, can now introduce it to industries and governments, so that they can inform their policies and their activities or actions and their next steps. Then with increasing investment in the climate-related education and research is very important. Education is the key to everything. So if we don't increase investment in climate-related education, then the fight against climate change or achieving the Paris Accord will be very difficult for us. So we should be encouraging students also, educators and researchers, to lead on the climate action. So in conclusion, I would like to say that we need to have a continuous academic engagement in climate action. It's a fight that we are all, it's all inclusive. We don't have to leave anybody behind. So academia and continuous engagement with them is also very paramount. And then we should expand our educational systems of climate education and innovation focusing efforts. So as we've seen examples that I've mentioned, other schools, other institutions should emulate. You know that this is possible. And then through that, we can all form a team in combating the impact of climate change. And we need to encourage stakeholders to invest also in climate change or climate action, because this is very resourceful. When we all help in curbing this climate impact, the world will be a better place for all of us. And before I leave, I will leave you with this quote that education and innovation are key to sustainable future. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. I'm ready for questions if there are any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Because of time, I'm going to start in very fast. Thank you very much, Linda, for this presentation. So I'm going to go across my screen. Just in 1 second, I'm going to go across my screen, and then I'll come back to the panelists to give their final remarks. So that's it and done. Usually, we want everybody on this session to give us at least to give one observation, just one takeaway, just one. If you have a question, you give a question. But the panelists is going to come back in 1 minute and give and close the entire session. So I'm going to start with Mr. Chitakira from University of South Africa. Unmute yourself, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, you took me by surprise. I'm not sure what to say, but well, this is quite interesting. I really am interested to get to understand that initiative and this network, and the objectives of trying to get the concept of climate smart agriculture into rather to the grassroots. So yeah, I can say the take-home message from this is, yeah, networking and of course participatory approaches necessary to get this achieved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And of course, you have to inform Professor Nahum of what you heard here, because we need to fast track the partnership, because by next month or next week, I won't say we're gonna close our partnership engagement framework, because we need to go through implementation. Thank you. Acheampong Williams, 1 minute, just 1 minute. Your takeaway, very fast. Okay, I'm moving forward. Vincent Abe Ije.
Yeah, so I think my key takeaway is from Dr. Patrick's presentation that 80% of farmers are smallhold farmers and are supposed to get the maximum or the greatest attention that they need, every support that they need to be able to produce effectively. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Salem Shimeles. Okay, Francis, Dr. Francis, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Divine. I want to appreciate Linda and Federica for their presentation. I've learned a lot from their presentation, especially for Federica. I like the idea that FAO now is moving to Climate Smart Agriculture Plus. I would like to learn more about Climate Smart Agriculture Plus. Thank you so much.
Perfect. She'll come back to you soon. Jean-Paul Longwe. You're muted, sir. Okay, I move forward. Ismail Abubakar. Okay, I'll move. Tanaka. Jean Tanaka?
Yes.
Yes. Go on. Tanaka, go on. Give your takeaway.
Okay, so what should I do?
Your takeaway.
Takeaway. Okay. All right. I'm going to take away.
Okay, let me move over. Claude Alex. Okay, Kamongelo Magobota.
Yes, Sir Divine, thank you very much. Well, I'm an MSc candidate. Thank the previous presenter because I'm interested in doing something similar to what he just presented, for trying to promote the reforestation, especially engaging the primary roots like the young children. So like she said that the young ones are still malleable, they're pliable, so it is easy to teach them. So that is my take-home message.
Thank you very much indeed. Claude Alex, I see you are muted.
Yes. I'm with you. Thank you. I'm here. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sure. We can hear you. Go on.
Okay. Thank you for the event. I was with you, but I was also busy because I'm at my office, working in my office for my job. I've lost some information, but I've got the global information I wanted to have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am in Brazzaville, in Congo, Brazzaville.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Judith Katelo. Judith.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Linda and Patrick, for the presentation. Actually, I'm working with the grassroots on food systems in Zambia, and the presentation from Patrick is timely, and I've learned a lot on the presentation, especially on the engagement of communities and, the food systems, the initiatives and the entrepreneurship, which is, I think I'll share to my community members as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Claude, mute yourself. Claude Alex, mute yourself. Mute yourself, Claude, please. Thank you.
Okay. So
mute yourself. Mutez-vous. Tiluse Mazia. Okay. Sydney, over to you, sir.
Greetings, everyone. I think for me, I would love to also concur with the presentation that small-scale farmers really have a very big contribution, very significant, especially when it comes to healthy food production. Considering that most of the commercial farmers have failed to really go into organic production, that has remained the core of the small-scale farmers. So these amount to a very, very significant contribution in terms of healthy food supply. I think I would concur with that presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. Bakirsa Basir. Okay, Temple, Dr. Temple, over to you, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to appreciate the presenter.
Dr. Temple, let her talk. Dr. Temple, hold on. Yes, Bakisa, over to you.
Yes,
Bashir.
yes, my brother. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Balkisa Bashir. I also work with the indigenous and marginalized community in Kenya, East Africa, especially the semi-arid and arid zone. I think what you're doing is a great, and climate change is the issue now, and we need to take it further. Thank you so much. Everyone and each one of you are just marvelous. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Temple, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I want to appreciate the presenters. I'm Temple Nwankwo from Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Nigeria. The key takeaway I have today is the emphasis on sustainability over yield, because all this while we've been interested in yield as an economist and as an agribusiness expert. We're interested in yield and profitability. But in today's presentation, at least there is an emphasis on sustainability. And I'm also particularly happy because of the way stakeholders are coming together to achieve sustainable food systems. So it's not a one-man thing. Both institutions, researchers, people are coming together to make sure that our food system is sustainable indeed. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Shomari Kite.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shomari Kite from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I really appreciate this presentation since it brings a lot of insight to what we are currently doing. I think one of my takeaway is how to implement change, especially in agriculture. And my focus is on agroforestry, especially working with refugee communities and displaced people on how they can increase their productivity. But also for the second presentation on energies, the renewable energy is also part of what we are working on, since we are dealing with young people on how they can contribute to overcome the challenge of deforestation, using the renewable energy and biomass around the refugees camp in Eastern DRC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andy, for your contribution. Willie Rope. Willie Rope.
My name is Willie Rope from Kenya, and I want to appreciate the opportunity. I picked a lot from Linda, especially on academia, and my suggestion again is that we mentor also the high school because of continuity, and such that we have those clubs that are active in environmental mitigation. And for farming system, I think we hope that the government will also continue supporting, especially the smallholder farmers, in order to improve their livelihood. We thank the presenters. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. A song, Akan.
Thank you so much for the invitation and for this very insightful session. Thank you, Patrick and Linda, for sharing. I think it's very important to wrap up for like COP29 and right now lead the road to COP30. Absolutely, agriculture is sometimes ignored, but it's so crucial. So we should definitely work on that. Keep pushing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, now I have to echo here that this is one of our partners. They're one of our key partners as well. The Global Climate Innovation Coalition. Yeah, they have offices in New York. They are research in New York, and they're all they're based in Europe as well. And equally, they are the ones setting up the office for us in Beijing, actually. So right now we're in the registration process. Thank you very much, Akan, for the endless support. Now I'm gonna go now to the presenters. Yes, I'll start with the ladies first, and then the men will come. The gentlemen will come later. Let me start with Federica. Now, because of time, we have basically like 10 minutes to go. So, Federica, in 2 minutes, just give us your perspective and perhaps address some of the concerns from the audience. Over.
Yes, thank you very much. I think all of you made very good concerns. Specifically, I would like to just say that it's important to make a very holistic approach when we talk about these important topics, because we believe that only making all together from different perspectives, from different needs, from different necessities, we can achieve the solutions. And for this, this is why we want to increase the CSA in a CSA plus, making more focus on how we can involve all the stakeholders together to achieve the solutions, and making an holistic way to fund all together solutions or possible solutions. Thank you. Divine, you are muted.
Yes, Ambassador Stephane, over to you, please. Ambassador Stephane, you are muted.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, very briefly. It'll be very interesting. I remember three things. First, I was struck by the emphasis put on the necessity to address not only food production, but all the areas, all the aspects related with food, be it commercialization, transport, banking, financing, etc. Number two, I was very interested in what was said about agroforestry, because indeed more and more, and we see that in our countries as well. I live in a small village in an agriculture area. There we are witnessing kind of rehabilitation of trees. Third, last but not least, I'm struck by the fact that there are so many examples of good practices, and we all have to learn one from the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Stephane, for this really key moment. I'm giving the floor now to my sister, Linda.
Okay, thank you, Divine, and thank you, everyone, for your contributions and comments. They are well noted. Thank you for the encouraging words as well. What I want to say is the fight against climate change or the climate danger, it's all inclusive. No matter your field, is interdisciplinary. Wherever you are, you can put in a little efforts, and then the fight will go on, and so that we can achieve what we all budgeted for. So the Paris Accord, as we rightly said, below 2 degrees Celsius, or if you are more ambitious, 1.5 degrees Celsius is what we're fighting for. So we will need everybody on board. We are leaving no one behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I give the floor to my brother from Canada.
Thanks a lot, my friend Divine, and thank you all. If I want to say one last thing as a kind of a take-home message for everybody, that people can harvest the stock of trees today to use them in different manufacturing processes, or they can add tons and tons of chemical fertilizers, right, into the soil to produce more food today. But what will happen in the future where there will be no land to plow and to cultivate, no forest, for example, to regulate the climate change, no waters and oceans to irrigate and initiate the rain, no flowers and vegetation to enhance pollination and thus maintain the continuity of life on Earth, and no fossil fuels to run the entire economy and ensure sustainable development. So it's a call for, like increasing or elevating our elbows, and don't stop now, don't give up now. The time is not to go back, and then keep going. Thank you so much, Divine.
Yes. Sorry. 1 second, please. Yes, thank you very much, colleagues. I want to give the floor to Domenico. Then I'm gonna close. Domenico, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Divine, and thank you very much to all the amazing speakers that we had today. This is the first station, and so what an amazing start. We will have also monthly this session properly to near the COP. Every month we will have a different speaker and so on. And it's important to also highlight that this session is into the program of the Road2COP, where all the interns of the Center of Excellence are invited to join. Actually, we will put the slides and all the material that is presented today into our virtual academy. And of course, we invite also the Center of Excellence to let join their mentees over like the inside this program. We will invite them because for the ones that are attending all the session, or at least the 80%, we will engage them into first of all giving them the certificate, and also like engage them in the process that we are planning to have in COP30. So saying that, I think that we started greatly. I thank very much again the speakers and also Divine, and the floor back to you to close.
Yeah, thank you very much, Domenico, my co-facilitator. Of course, we have some key moments. We have the African Regional Forum on Sustainable Development that's taking place next week. And of course, we have the CG Science Week, where it's in Kenya, and Kampala for the SDGs Forum. And then for CG Science Week, it's going to take place in Nairobi. Those who are in Nairobi or Kenya, you can join our team there. They're going to be there in person. And that's one of the biggest gathering of the CG centers. Then we equally have some announcements, like for the ECOSOC Youth Forum are going to be in New York for this forum as well. That's bringing together young people across the world here at the United Nations. And we're working towards the UNFFS, which is the second stock taking for the UN Food System Summit, which is going to be July 27 to 29 in Addis Ababa. So there are a lot of key moments. Just stay tuned. Now we want everyone to take part in the Earth Day, on the Earth Day, which is April 22nd. Make sure you organize an Earth Day activity. You can decide to clean your environment, try to wither the grass around your farms and stuff like that. So let's try to see actions across the globe. We have the emails there. Domenico can share his email as well, so that anyone interested can join us and make this difference. We are the change of today and not of tomorrow. We are the change of today. And I'm really, really thrilled to inform you that we are equally working directly with the IUCN on the Congress, the World Congress, which is going to be in Abu Dhabi in December. I just received an email saying that they want us to have a side event on change makers. And they have told us that they're going to have a sponsorship for that. So I think all of us here should join efforts to make this happen. So I want to thank everyone. Thank you very much, colleagues, once more, Federica, for your endless support and contribution and mentorship, of course. And our uncle and father and patron, Ambassador Stephane, who is always there to make sure that we move to the right direction. And my very good friend, Patrick, who is really making things happen. I think he's going to Senegal in a couple of weeks from now, where we're going to connect him with a team in Morocco, because he'll be in Morocco as well, at the Mohammed VI University Polytechnic, and then it's going to be in Dakar as well. So I think we have all these connections that we have to put together. And then the one thing that you have to all understand is that the change is now, it's not tomorrow. Be the change you want the future to be. So don't complain. Complaining has never been a strategy to success. The more you complain, the more you go nowhere. So just take upon yourselves. All of us have talents and skills, and make sure that you work towards your destination. Don't be influenced by the population around you. Focus, stay focused, resilient, and really strategic in all what you're doing. And with this, I want to thank everyone. Domenico, I hope you have taken a screenshot of all this, our very beautiful faces here, because we need to actually record this and report to all our partners. Thank you very much, colleagues. Bye.
Thank you, Divine, and all the team. Thank you very
bye.
much.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Bye, Divine.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.